Welcome back to Revved Up with Ram Thorburn for yet another music video reaction. I know I've been heavy on the music video reactions the past couple days, but there's been a lot of stuff dropping for me to react to, and we got another one from Burden here. Now, I reacted to Burden's previous one, We the People, and I had never heard of Burden before, and Burden, if you're watching this, you set the bar pretty high with with We the People, so I'm excited to see what you're doing with white privilege here, but let's see if you can top We the People, because that was a pretty awesome song. So, without any further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and get into this right here. This is Burden, White Privilege.
Thank you, Diane. And in today's news, let's talk about this white privilege.
I'm about to stir up the pot. I'm gonna talk about what they don't want me to say. This division of races, a spit in the face of America. Look at how far it came.
Right off the bat. Right off the bat. I love it, Burden. Just jump right into it. Hit him over the face with what you're going to talk about right off the jump here. So let me run that back just a second. I got a little excited by the fact that he just jumped right into it and kind of forgot exactly what he said.
This division of races, a spit in the face of America. Look at how far it came.
Yes. This division of race is to spit in the face of America. Look at how far we done came. And that is precisely why they are pushing critical race theory so hard. Is because we have come so far as a nation to integrate people from all different walks of life. And it had gotten to the point where everybody was really living in peace and getting together, and nobody really cared about race anymore. And that was a major problem for those who understand if you want to conquer America, you must first divide it. And they kind of realize that the clock is ticking on your ability to drive the wedge between the races in America. Because I feel like before Barack Obama, we were really at that point where race just didn't really seem to matter all that much anymore. We were kind of at that point where the civil rights era had gone through all of its evolutions, and we were at that point. And they said, "Oh, hold on, we can't have this now. We can't have this now. We can't have an America that is all kumbaya and holding hands and getting together and not caring. We got to be able to drive people apart." And so they started implementing this critical race theory, which views the world through a racial lens and is, in fact, a return to the era of segregation. I mean, if you look, we even have at certain universities, they're looking for, they're putting racially segregated dorm rooms. Like, I think there was one school in California here that had a blacks-only dorm. That kind of feels like 1962 Alabama to me. But, you know, and then there was also, what was it, University of Michigan and Deerfield, I think it was Deerfield. Where's the one where all the Muslims live? Dearborn. Yeah, University of Michigan, Dearborn. They actually created oh yeah, and another thing. They call these safe spaces. They do it under the guise of safe spaces so that black people have a safe space from all of us white racists who largely don't care about race and are not racist. But that's just a way to sell the segregation. And then you even saw, like I was talking about in University of Michigan, Dearborn, they created a cafe that was for non-BIPOCs, which is, I get BIPOC stands for, what is it, blacks, indigenous, people of color. You know, they come up with all these sanitized clinical categorizations for people to try to set them apart as monoliths. But yeah, it was a non-BIPOC cafe, which essentially means a whites-only cafe. Are you kidding me? As far as we came in America, it's the left. It is the progressive left, the anti-racists, all of those people that are taking us back to the days of racism. So, back to Burden here.
Look at how far it came. Oh, what a shame. How does the media fill us with hate? How do you feel like it's racist for someone to say that they're keeping America great?
Yes, and the media drives so much of this because the media has become nothing short of the propaganda operatives of the political establishment. And while it is mostly Democrats, it is the most of the political establishment does fall into the Democrat category. There are Republicans in that, but of course you saw with the election of Trump, all of the establishment Republicans went running over to the DNC, to the Democrats. You know, the whole Lincoln Project, Rick Wilson, all of those limp dick motherfuckers. They all ran over to the Democrats and started screaming, Trump is terrible! Trump is terrible! Trying to buy into, or trying to get us to buy into that whole lie. Because what it is Trump is a threat to their power. And their power was to slowly transform America into this socialist. I don't even want to say utopia, because it's sort of this proto-fascist communism. It's really weird. It's an amalgam of fascism and communism, because they still have some of the free, they have the economic principles of fascism, where you have corporations that are privately owned, but they're all set up to serve the interests of the state, which is what we're seeing now when we see Wall Street, all of corporate America backing Joe Biden, a man with dementia. It's because he represents the establishment. He represents the agenda that has been essentially pigeonholed into the Democrat Party. But the Democrat Party has always been terrible, because they were always the party of racism. They are now the party of racism, and in the future, they will be the party of racism. But the media pushes that hate on their behalf constantly. Oh yeah, and also, yeah, what's racist about Make America Great? You know, they use the line, or Keep America Great. And in Donald Trump's first campaign, when it was Make America Great Again, it kind of gave them, even though it was a slogan used by Reagan and Clinton, it was also they used it to say, well, when was America great? Are you talking about the time during slavery and segregation and all that? No, we're talking about the time when we had freedom and liberty. But yeah, there's nothing racist about making America great again and wrestling the country away out of the hands of these proto-fascist, proto-communist, amalgam establishment cronyists.
Let's talk about this white privilege. I'll make it clear so that y'all get this. I ain't never had an opportunity in life that was given base with the tone of my skin is.
Exactly, man. I'm gonna tell you, Burden is snapping on this beat too. I mean, he's got that flow, man. He's good. So he says, let's talk about this white privilege. I thought I actually rewinded a little bit more, so let me play that back just a little bit.
I ain't never had an opportunity in life that was given base with the tone of my skin is.
Yeah, I've never had an opportunity given to me because of my race. And I mean, you can. That's the thing, is they'll sit there. They also try to make everything very, very study and academic oriented. You hear them always say, experts say, and a study says. Well, how can you study whether something came to you by race? Because you can't actually read into the intentions of the person who gives you an opportunity. Unless they sit there and say, come on in here, white boy. I like that you're a white boy. Let's sit you down and give you some money, white boy. When the hell has that ever happened? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Not one bit.
Base with the tone of my skin is. You ain't impressed. Look at what year it is. There ain't no talking to you. You ain't hearing this. He just a cracker who walk around talking this shit. He politically wrong and he's arrogant, right?
That's another thing. He says you're just a cracker who talks about it. That's one thing that they've done to try to. They try to fuel. They try to incite minorities by telling them that white people are constantly against them, that America is systemically against them, and when any white person who has been trying to drive towards the civil rights and the integration of everybody into American culture, whenever we try to point that out, we no longer have a voice on issues when it comes to race. They say, oh, no, you can't talk on this, you're white. And it's kind of the same thing that they do with abortion with men. They say no man has a say in abortion. Well, we had a say in making the baby, didn't we? It's gross how they try to cut people up. They try to cut any sort of oppositional voices out of the argument entirely, so that they can go completely uncontested.
Wrong and he's arrogant, right? Fist in the air, black pride, that's great. But if I do the same for my race, that's hate. Yes. Black fist in the air. What was it? Black fist in the air. Black
black pride. Yeah, but if you do it the other way, it's hate, which is the exact double standard that the left has created in America. Everything is a double standard because to them, to average everyday Americans, racism is just means the belief that one race is superior to another. But the left, because what they have to do is they have to redefine everything in order to get their point across. They have to redefine the meaning of words. So all of a sudden, racism isn't just racial prejudice, it's racial prejudice plus power. So they change it so that if you're of the race that doesn't have the power, which really, I mean, this nation, or any nation, because the history of the world is all founded by ethnicities. I mean, every country has an originating ethnicity to it. That goes for Asia, that goes for Europe, that goes for Africa, that goes for everywhere. Whoever is of the founding ethnicity is likely going to have what is considered the power, primarily just because they have the numbers. And so they create this double standard where all of a sudden, if you are in the majority, and that's really what it comes down to. It's not about power. It's about having the majority. If you're in the majority, you no longer have any voice whatsoever. And that's one thing Tom MacDonald's song, People So Stupid, he talks about how they spend all this time focusing on minorities, ignoring all the masses. Because they ignore the majority. They say, oh no, we're just going to cut your vocal cords out, rip your tongue out. You have no say in this country anymore. You had your time. It's their time. What did we do? I'm just some dude in an apartment trying to make a living and struggling at it as well, just like everybody else. But, of course, they have to create these double standards because, and the double standard is entirely made to shut up any opposition.
From a race that's hate, he can do what he wants, is what a lot of you say, but if I play with the police, I'ma have a bad day. So you...
Yeah, if you're a white person, you play with the police, you're going to get shot just like anybody else. In fact, one thing they always don't talk about, they talk about how police are just out there hunting down black people. Well, cocking the shotgun and just hunting them down. Well, last year, I think it was 9 unarmed black people were killed by the police. 19 unarmed white people were killed by the police. While you could probably go through and name all 9 of the black people that were killed by the police, you probably couldn't name a single one of the 19 white people killed by the police. Because they have to control the narrative, and if the facts, and anything oppositional is called hate facts, if it's not the truth, well, it's against the narrative, and it's hateful. It's racism. It's bigotry. Fuck off.
With the police, I'ma have a bad day. So you must be high. Then already told you I don't wanna die. Who said it was better? They told you a lie. You think that my color won't help you survive? I don't despise my hair and my eyes. My heritage made me as handsome as I. Don't make me no better, no worse than no other person. Just saying, I'm happily white.
That's pretty much it. He's just like, I am who I am. I am white. Whatever. So am I. I'm white. I wasn't given some privilege of being able to choose what race I was when I was born. My parents were white, and so am I. That's just how it goes, But it doesn't make me any better. It doesn't make me any worse. It just makes me a person who has this pigmentation. Nothing more, nothing less.
Must be the same. Let me explain. Work the same jobs and we get the same pay. When the past school had to get the same grades. If you made the same choices, you get the same places. Let me...
Yes, exactly. Man, Burden's crushing it. Burden, you're quickly becoming one of my favorite artists. I mean, you're nailing it. You're not only nailing the points, but man, you're snapping on the beat too. So yeah, if you work the same job, you get the same pay. We have protection under the law, so there's no systemic racism there. In order to pass, you got to get the same grades. That's the whole idea of a meritocracy. America is set up to be a meritocracy where those who succeed are the ones who do the best job. And we always see the left. They like to call capitalism racist. The only color that capitalism sees is green. If I'm sitting there and I want to hire somebody and I have a white person who is a slacker who is going to come in late every day and is terrible at their job, and then I have a black person who's going to show up on time, is smart as a whip, and is able to provide value to my company, guess who I'm hiring 100 times out of 100? It's the black guy, not the white person who's a slacker and just riding by. Or coasting by. We are a meritocracy. Capitalism creates a meritocracy because we want the best people to create, because capitalism runs on efficiency. Racism is not an efficient model. It's entirely inefficient, and it's superficial. Efficiency is not superficial. It runs on the gears. It has to actually be stripped bare and work on a minimalist structure that provides the most return. We want the people that can do that. We don't care what their race is. We care about results.
The same places. Let me speak. From what you see, I was taught ain't nothing free. If someone got it, it ain't me.
I love that he brought in the whole clown world meme into this. And yes, the left is definitely clown world. The left is definitely clown world.
Let's talk about this white privilege. Let's talk about this white privilege. Don't exist. God is my witness. It's easy to see. You think I don't get it because I don't agree. Like I didn't make it up out of the street with nowhere to sleep and nothing to eat.
That's funny. He says, you think I don't get it because I don't agree. And what's funny is if you reference Jonathan Haidt, the famous social scientist, he came to the conclusion in one of his studies that the right understands the left and disagrees and thinks they're wrong. And the left doesn't understand the right at all and just assumes they're evil. And they won't take in any information from the right because they feel like it's going to... I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they absolutely refuse. You know, I had that video that I just put out recently, that whole thing about Benghazi and SEAL Team 6 and Osama bin Laden. And this person on the left gets on there and starts commenting, saying all this stuff about how this is completely untrue. It's a conspiracy theory and all this bullshit. And I asked him, I was like, did you watch the video? He's like, no, I didn't watch the video. I have a life. I'm like, so you're just a low information motherfucker who doesn't who has too much of a life not to watch the video, but not enough of a life that they can come onto my channel and start talking shit to me, telling me that I'm pushing conspiracy theories when I have evidence right here if you watched the video. But they never actually listen. There's another person on the left that I was talking to, and I was trying to be very polite with them, and I was trying to point them to a more moderate centrist person, someone like a Tim Pool, and say, well, maybe you should listen to some other news sources, listen to something that counteracts the mainstream narrative. And they immediately just looked at it and said, I know propaganda when I see it. I know right-wing propaganda. And I'm like, the dude's actually on the left, and I have fundamental disagreements with him, which is one of the reasons why I listen to him, because I like to have my ideas challenged. Wouldn't hear it. Wouldn't even give it a shot. They dismiss it outright without listening to any other information. It is a psychosis. They have been brainwashed, and I'm not sure that there's much of a way out of it. I got a friend who worked British military intelligence, and he was telling me that, I mean, these people are radicalized, and that's the issue. And he was telling me that how de-radicalization rates, and he worked in counterterrorism. So with him, it was Islamic extremism. How radicalization failure rates are upwards of 96%. Meaning it is almost impossible to de-radicalize somebody once their brain has been poisoned with this. It is an absolute mental rot, which is a very, very dangerous situation for us to be in.
What to sleep and nothing to eat. Everything that we do by choice. Your race is moving, ain't muting my voice. My life in hell, as far as I can tell, the idea of white privilege been destroyed. Where is the cards they say I can boom? Kicked out of school for being too cool. I went to jail and I didn't get bail. I wanted to rent, I'm a felon, I can't.
Yeah, he's talking, you know, I did a crime and I went to jail. Yeah, been there before. Been there before too. And then he's saying, I want to vote, but I can't because I'm a felon. Yeah, well, that's the system. Same for white, same for blacks. Same for Hispanics, same for everybody. We have an egalitarian system, and that's what they hate. They hate that an egalitarian system actually causes people to come together because they, like I said, they can no longer divide and conquer a united people.
I wanted to rent, I'm a felon, I can't. So we're resolving inequality, yeah. I applied for jobs, they ain't calling me, yeah. My eyes are green and my skin is white, maybe they've been busy, yeah, that's gotta be it.
I just had to laugh at that one. He's like, my eyes are green, my skin is white, why am I not getting a job? Oh yeah, it's because they're not hiring you based on your race. Same as everybody else. In fact, you know, there is actually this idea of black privilege, which is kind of racist in and of itself. It's like positive racism versus negative racism, where, and this is rooted in affirmative action, and you see it a lot, especially in the college application process. Like if you're trying to get into Harvard and you're a white person, you have to have like a 1520 SAT score to get in. But if you're a black person, you can get in with like a 1250 SAT score, which is, I mean, that's certainly a privilege to be able to get in with a lower standard, but it's also kind of, it's the racism of low expectations. And, you know, it was coined the soft bigotry of low expectations, but it's not really all that soft. It is kind of a hard bigotry when you say, oh, you're black, so we don't expect as much from you. Oh, wow, you got a 1250. That's kind of average for my people, but that's really good for you. Come on in. Come on in. And you also do kind of see that in some of the job hiring processes as well. You get a black person that comes in and they're well-spoken and they're well-dressed and well-mannered and all that. They're like, whoa, we want to have this person here. That's kind of racist in and of itself. It's positive racism, but it is still racist. And that's where the anti-racism really isn't anti-racist at all. It is racism because they actually push for that discrimination. They push for racial discrimination. Ibram X. Kendi, the author of How to Be an Anti-Racist, says, discrimination that causes equity is good, while discrimination that causes inequity is bad. So he's perfectly okay with people being judged by the color of their skin and having their results being based out of their race and not out of what they bring to the table. That is racism. Just because you're looking for a different result out of your racism doesn't mean you're not looking at everybody through racial identitarianism. It's really, really bad stuff.
Yeah, that's gotta be it. You probably believe it. Now you gotta get even. Even though I ain't seen it, that ain't the way that I'm treated.
And that's exactly when we hit the nail on the head right there when he said you gotta get even. Because it's almost like there's sort of a revenge. It's like revenge racism is essentially what it is. But it's revenge for the sins of the father. Actually, really more like sins of the grandfather. More so than sins of the father at this point. And they're coming after us for our history. So it's, you know, when they talk about reparations, they're talking about people who have never owned a slave paying people who have never been a slave for sins that were caused 160 years ago. You know, this had nothing to do with any of us. We're not held accountable for this. That's not justice. That's actually the North Korean style of justice, where if you commit a crime, not only do you have to go and spend the rest of your life in a labor camp, your next 3 generations have to live in that labor camp too. That's North Korean style, this whole reparations talk. And it also complicates the issue. You know, my dad's from Norway. His family never owned a slave. Why do I owe anything? And maybe you got somebody who is you know, a rich black person whose family came here from Africa in the 1990s. Their family was never enslaved. Are they now owed reparations? In fact, it might have been their people selling the slaves to the European settlers. Who knows? Who knows? You cannot operate this cleanly. So it just needs to be left alone. The sins of the past are the sins of the past. They don't involve us, but we have worked very, very hard to move on from that and create a society that has learned from the mistakes of the past and is trying to improve it. Meanwhile, you have the left that is trying to erase history so that we forget all the progress we made so that they can implement the exact practices that we have moved away from. Very, very disgusting stuff.
That ain't the way that I'm treated. Telling me you got expectations of me paying you reparations. But all the
there we go.
Of a million people feel the same exact way, afraid to say things right. I'm about to stir up the pot. I'ma talk about what they don't want me to say. This division of races is spit in the face of America. Look at how far it came. On with the shame. How does the media fill us with hate? How do you feel like it's racist for someone to say that they're keeping America great? Let me speak.
I like that how he just goes, let me speak. And that's a very like I said, I've already talked on this, so I don't want to go into it, but just how they shut up all opposition. You know, the frustration is real. It's like, shut up and let me have a voice here, because I can contribute something to the conversation that you are completely neglecting. But they can't hear it. They can't hear anything that goes against their narrative, because to them, it's like Vladimir Lenin said, a lie told often enough becomes the truth. These people's worldviews are built on lies, but it is an entire worldview that they have built around untruths, fallacies. And if you hear the opposition, all of a sudden, it's not just getting them to change their mind. It's a crumbling of their entire view of the world. They've found a purpose for their life in this. They've found a purpose built on a mountain of lies. And deep down, they know it. That's why they are terrified of it all crumbling beneath them, because their entire life, everything that they dedicated themselves to, will have been for nothing. And they would have been the fucking idiots that they actually are. And it will expose them to themselves as that.
I work hard for what you see. I was taught ain't nothing free. If someone got it, it ain't me.
Yeah, exactly. Go on.
Let's talk about this white privilege. Don't exist. God is my witness.
All right. This kicked ass. This kicked ass. This was awesome. Burden, I know you watched the last one and you left a comment. Thank you very much. I thought that was very cool that you actually interact with the people who react to your music. I'm becoming a very big fan of you. So if you're watching this, becoming a big fan of Burden. He's becoming one of my favorites. Not just because he's talking about things I like to hear, but his talent, the way he snaps on the beat and everything is really impressive. He's just got a presence on that mic that I think is really awesome. So this is 2 thumbs up. It did live up to We the People. I was worried that was going to be a tough act to follow. He followed it up just as impressively. Burden, white privilege, love it. Anyways, guys, if you haven't already yet, hit that thumbs up, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, or you won't know when I post videos, because we all know it's voices like mine that are first to be taken out back in Old Yeller by the folks at Big Tech. Speaking of Big Tech, if you want to follow me on any of those platforms, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Ram Thorburn. Also on the alt tech sites, Parler, Minds, and Pilled.net, also at Ram Thorburn. And if you want to find my videos on another platform, in case I happen to be banned here, go ahead and subscribe to me on BitChute and Rumble, also at Ram Thorburn. And if you'd like to contribute to the channel, there are links to my Subscribe Star Patreon and PayPal down in the description below. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.